So I just want to give a quick update and kind of talk a little bit louder now because it's kind of early in the morning. My ex has crawled out from beneath the rock that she's hiding under. Being honest with you, she sent me a text there the 11th of September, which would be 2 days before my daughter's birthday, basically implying that by me exposing her on social media that I was hurting kind of her daughter. This is basically what she's doing to try and kind of prevent me from kind of exposing her actions. Then I got a friend request yesterday from my daughter. My daughter is 14 and she wouldn't let me ring the child for years. She wouldn't let me have any contact with the child for years whatsoever. And the only reason she's doing it there now is because if I accept the child's friend request, she'll go to a judge there and say that the child is seeing this, this and this on social media as I expose the truth about her. And that's basically what she's doing. She's just using the child as usual. And I do love the child more than anything in the world, but I'm not going to have the child being used by her mother again. And that's basically what's behind this kind of stuff. And I put up an open letter there recently that I wrote to the two Norries as she appeared as a guest on the two Norries. And I basically showed her to be a liar on multiple occasions. I sent a message that she sent me from 2017, which disputed everything that she said on the two Norries. I also highlighted how I turned up in court to clean urines, how I had a parenting agreement where I had the kids 6 days a week, how she didn't finish her aftercare despite her lies on the two Norries. There's lots of stuff basically, but it basically proves her to be a liar, essentially. And if she lied that many times on something like that, what else is she lying about? And she's essentially now concerned that she's about to be exposed. As I start kind of joining the dots, so to speak, she's getting more and more concerned because her whole fabricated past and her image there now is about to be exposed. And my wife is going to talk on an interview with me, and she'll verify how we used to go to Dublin at the beginning of all this, and she changed the location on 4 times to see the kids. We used to walk out to see the kids because couldn't afford a taxi, being honest with you. And on the last occasion there, she's changed the location 4 times. It was pissing raining now, and by the time we ended up seeing the kids, it was out in the very last restaurant out by the airport. I think we'd have to walk for 2.5 hours through the rain or something. But this is this woman's kind of behaviour. My wife will verify how she started doing her hair like her and dressing like her, all this kind of weird stuff. And there's just so much stuff. I'm not going to get into it all now because I'm going to explain it all in a timeline. But I'm going to talk about this Baha'i religion, that we are both in this. We are both recruited into this religion. The two people that were recruiting for this religion, one was my psychology teacher in Tramore, who was inviting students up to his house, and the other one was his wife. She's also a psychologist. She's subcontracted by Waterford Tussle. And the kind of unethical kind of actions of this crowd is about to kind of come to the forefront, and they're doing everything and anything, if you notice, to stop me now. I would have thought the two Norries, after I sent them proof that she's lying, would have taken down the podcast, if I'm being honest with you. It's a 124. Have a listen to it. Go back through my open letter and read the message that I put up from 2017, which disputes everything on that. So it just basically shows her to be a liar. While she's on that to plug her Hair Together program, which is essentially my idea. I was to do a tattooing school for the disadvantaged youths and people on the dole, and I had to stop. I was approved by actually the social welfare to get a grant for this in 2018. I had to do a proposal in 2017, 2018, and I was eventually approved, but there was a load of sexual slander spread every time my ex would come down. The sexual slander would be spread. This happened on 3 occasions. So I ended up having to stop the whole kind of tattoo school. And then a year and a half after this, she kind of starts this kind of hairdressing school for disadvantaged youths and people on the dole, which is essentially the exact same idea as what I had. There's very little difference. And as of lately, she's actually after announcing that she's going into tattooing. So she it's basically identical now to my idea, if I'm being honest with you. And there's paperwork not to support my idea, and it precedes this idea that she's passing off as her own. But it's just another lie from her. And her now using she's using like my daughter now to try and kind of prevent me from speaking about this publicly, because I would always put the kids first, being honest with you, and that's the reason why I stopped seeing the kids. Like there's a load of kind of like sexual stuff like being spread around, and I was worried that like people were going to start saying it about the kids, so I pulled the plug on kind of seeing the kids. And every time she was around with the kids, all the sexual slander would be spread. And I'm going to explain all this now on the timeline, nice and calmly, and I'm going to put it together, and people can make their own minds up. And there was a lot of people took all this sexual slander, a lot of people in Waterford took it, and they spread it through organisations, and they spread this everywhere. And when it came to the crunch then of basically, I wouldn't go. They tried to make me go. And it was only realised then when I wouldn't go, I refused to leave under these circumstances. I told them basically to go fuck themselves, if I'm being honest with you. Excuse the language there. But so they decided then to pursue this whole sexual kind of slander that was after one kind of spread. There was a list of pornography sites. I spoke about this in previous videos. And it was then, and only then, it was realised where this was after coming out, that all 3 times the people that spread it had contact with me ex, like in the 2 or 3 days before doing this. So the shit basically hit the fan because people realised what they were after doing. And this goes for like unfortunately the network of Sinn Féin was used. Unfortunately Waterford City Council, actually through members of Sinn Féin in the council there as well. There's just various organisations like Garda and all this kind of stuff. They all spread this shit. And then when the truth started to come to light, then they couldn't back out of it. They couldn't apologise for what they're after doing, because they essentially destroyed my life. So they have to kind of see it through, being honest with you. And my ex there now, she's just concerned, really, really concerned, because not only am I exposing her, I'm putting like information out there. And I'm not like, this is not about me being spiteful or anything like this, but the information I'm putting out there shows her to be a liar, and it proves that she's lying. And she's kind of so concerned because her biggest fear is kind of like social validation, being honest with you. And as I said, we were recruited into this religion by this psychologist who specialises in sexual psychology and social psychology. And this just happens to be the 2 topics which are being used to kind of socially kind of shun me from my community and destroy my character. And I'm only asking people basically to hear me out. They can make their own minds up by what I say and what documents I like show. Whereas on the other hand, they're saying, no, they're waving this shit in your face, saying, no, listen to me, don't listen to him, just listen to me and read this. This is all they're trying to do. Do you know what I mean? I'm just saying, people have the intelligence to listen to both sides and make their own minds up, but they don't want you making their own minds up. So I'm going to start anyway this week. I've been talking about it for so long. I've been kind of like trying to talk about this and get it out there. And they don't want me getting it out there. But my ex is desperate. Do you know what I mean? For her to crawl out of the woodwork there now. Like, she hasn't texted in so long. I blocked her actually when she pulled the kids out of my wedding there in 2019, being honest with you. She dropped the kids down. My wife will verify this. We brought them off, got them their bridesmaid dresses. Then as soon as we did, she pulled the kids out of the wedding. And after that, then I had enough of this woman, because she's just poison. You know what I mean? And I'll explain all this, and you can make your own judgment and your own opinions based on what I tell you, and kind of like, and based on kind of what documentation I'm going to show you. And she knows all this. This is what's really up with her. She sent me a text last week saying that, oh, she's not worried and all this. Like, why would you be texting me if you're not worried? Do you know what I mean? Like, I've shown in black and white in your own writing and your own messages that you're lying. I'm going to leave it there now, and this week I'm going to push on there now, and I'm going to start putting this information out there, because the public has a right to know this kind of information. And the women like her need to be held accountable. Simple as that. And they'll only ever, like, it won't change as long as people like her are left to do this kind of stuff. And that's what that psychologist subcontracted by Tussle, the stuff around that woman and an involvement. In the previous case in my family, she's desperate to hide. Yeah, so I'm probably going to leave it there now, and I start uploading my videos. And as I said, my wife wants to speak on 1 or 2 of them there now, give her kind of side of the story, which is something that we don't seem to be able to get out, was our side of the story. So I'll leave it there. Thanks. Bye.